Welcome back, everybody, to This Is My Bourbon podcast. I'm your host, Perry, and it is good to be back. I have missed you all. My goodness gracious, I'm sorry for being gone for a week, but it's been a much-needed period of recovery and recharging. I say that like it's, been longer than really just a week off from releasing a main episode and streaming and doing all that good stuff. But I'm here. I'm back. I'm ready to get into this. I'm ready to let you know that if you want to support the show, you can head to patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast for as little as $1 a month. From $1 and up, you can get access to our Discord where you can come and chat with me and our colorful cast of characters and supporters of the show. But from $5 and up, you can get bonus content every single daggum week, including but not limited to a bonus episode on Mondays, the pregame chats that come out on Tuesdays, and early access to the podcast that is uncut, unedited, and unfiltered, where things may or may not get a little crazy. I don't know. It's not as crazy as it used to be, but it's still, only for Patreon sometimes. Unless I'm streaming on Twitch, which I'm actually doing right now. If you want to catch it live while I'm recording, twitch.tv/mybourbonpod, where I am still trying to build the Twitch audience up, because I don't know. I don't know what this drive is where I want to build the Twitch audience. I really, really want to, whether it's for gaming, whether it's for commentary, whether it's for bourbon stuff. There's something about the Twitch audience that drives me to do more. But twitch.tv/mybourbonpod, and also patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast. Please support the show. Some of the tiers are going to get a little bit of a shake up here soon. I'm working on that behind the scenes to make sure that you get what you should on a regular basis from the Patreon, because I want to deliver as much as I can and as frequently as I can for Patreon, and make sure that I am as I'm held to account as well for Patreon. But please do go check that out. And with these recordings as well, it depends on the day. It depends on when, I have as much free time as I possibly can. But I try to go live when I'm doing solo episodes so that I can record them with a bit of an audience, and you guys have a little bit of an extra show to check out. But it's a good time. There's some people who are hanging out here. Zopher's around. I know Kirk's hanging out somewhere, maybe in the background, potentially. But this week's episode, we're going to be getting into a bit of a discussion on the seemingly, I would say, maybe dire state of the bourbon industry, specifically from a monetary sense, which is not necessarily the most popular or fun aspect of conversation from specifically this podcast, but also just from conversation with bourbon in general. But I think that when we have had almost 10 months of distilleries filing bankruptcy and closing, it's time to really kind of dissect what's happening. So we'll get to that here in just a little bit. But before we do, I always start out episodes with a segment known as Flying Blind, which is an opportunity for me to try something that I haven't had before or haven't had in a while and may have kind of forgotten about. And today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach into one of these boxes behind me. If you're watching the video version or if you're watching live, I'm kind of pointing to it, I believe. I'm pretty sure that I am. And I'm going to see if I can find something that I might not have had in a while. Or maybe it's just a straight up blind pour that I don't even know what it is. I'll try to guess it. I'll try to see if there's something that's familiar about it. I don't know. Or if there's something that kind of sparks some interest. Either way, let's grab this box and see what we can find. This one just has red wax on it, and I don't know what that means. I'm going to put that to the side because I'm curious. Here's my sample of Booker's Reserves. I'm going to put that to the side too. Woodinville Madeira, I just had that recently. Le Part, Los Agnes, Courvoisier. So it's a cognac? And then I've got a sample of Blackened. And this one has a sticker on it, but it says Port au Perry 2022 LE. Four Roses. Let's go with that one. Because I don't even know. I don't even know what this might be. It has too many descriptors on it. Oh, I misread it. It's Port Perry Perry 112.2 from the Four Gate Whiskey Company. I think, unless it's the Four Roses 2022 LE. So we're going to do a little bit of Sherlock Holmesing and seeing if we can figure out what this sample actually is. It's just a 1 ounce sample. So I either poured the 2022 Four Roses LE or this Four Gate Straight Rye finished in Australian tawny port Peri Peri casks. I don't know. It's got a lot of information on it. It's hard to tell. It's also got a sticker on it that says like it's sample A. So this is a this is an incredible flying blind. I'm going in many different directions, I would say. Okay, it smells port finished. It smells dry. It smells like a rye as well. That's not to say that it might not be Four Roses, but I feel like I'm not going to know what this is until I actually sip it. So all that being said, I feel like I just have to kind of dive in and taste it before I can make heads or truly tails of what this is. So cheers, folks. Let's find out together. That is a finished rye whiskey. There is no doubt about it. This is 100% the Four Gate Port Peri Peri. Straight rye whiskey. Finished in Australian tawny port casks. Batch 21, apparently. I don't even know what year this particularly came out. It looks like it's in Chad Perkins's handwriting from its bourbon night. Aged a minimum of 8 years. I wonder what the oldest in this is. Very curious. $200. $200. Distilled in Dearborn County, Indiana. Is that where MGP is? I don't know for sure. I'm assuming so. But regardless, it's good. It's very good. It's fun to have a Perry release, I guess. It's so port forward. I mean, just in all honesty. It's got that very dry wine, dry red fruit quality about it. but also still a very, you know, spicy rye. Specifically, like middle of the palate towards the back end. Overall, I mean, quite good. It's a bit of a, I would say, challenging rye. Like it's not something that I would expect somebody who is new to rye whiskey would want to engage with, or, you know, somebody that I would expect to try if they had never tried rye whiskey before. But it's quite good. I'm kind of bummed that I hadn't tried it before, to be quite frank with you. But I'll stop being frank and I'll start being Perry, I guess, and tell you what I've been drinking recently. And having just come off of my vacation, which again was very nice and very refreshing and recharging, and gave me just the chance to come back and feel a sense of how do I want to actually put this? Because when I go away, when I'm able to go on a trip or a vacation where I don't put out an episode, there's one of two things kind of happens in my brain. I usually am fortunate enough to not be bombarded with like, where's the next 10 bip? What's going on? And I typically say like, you know, I'm going away. There's no new episode, and you know, you all listen to it and understand. So I don't get questions of like, what are you doing? Is the show over? You know, why aren't you doing anything? So like, I feel a sense of, you know, these people respect me, but also a sense of like, do they actually care about like what I'm doing? And I prefer to lean on like, they respect me. So thank you all for letting me, spend some time with my family and, relax and, get away for a little while. I very rarely checked my social medias to see what was going on. It wasn't until the end of the week that I started like posting a couple pictures and saying anything about how the week had gone, which was nice. Not that I regularly am like, here's what I'm drinking all the time and everything. So it just is very refreshing to get away. So all that being said, though, talking about what I have been drinking. If you listen to the Patreon episodes that came out last week, I'll give you nothing because I want you to go check those out. Because Papa Ritter and I recorded a little bit while we were there. Specifically for Patreon, and had some pours for Patreon too. But otherwise, there were some bottles that Papa Ritter brought that I wouldn't normally drink on. And it was nice to snag a couple pours of while I was there. Specifically, the new riff that we opened on Patreon. I will spoil that at the very least. A 2024 bottling, which, you know, compared to an original 2018 release that I finished recently, was a nice comparison to have in recent memory. Really enjoyed that. It was very, very fun. To try that and kind of drink on throughout the week and give myself some mental notes about where it seems like New Riff has developed their distilling practices, refined some of their abilities as a team. And I think that they are moving more and more in the right direction. He brought a bottle of McKenna 10 single barrel that was excellent. Just a very solid McKenna that I loved and spent a couple nights with, just adoring. Really I'm happy to see that Henry McKenna is back on the market in a pretty robust capacity. It's just so unfortunate that it's basically twice the price of what it was previously, especially if you're living in central Kentucky. If you're living in Lexington, we were able to find it for $30 and now it's $60 to $70. So not what you want to see with a comeback necessarily, but at the same time, it could be worse. I guess it could be worse. Talking about some beers though, because when you're at the beach, you're not hopping in the pool necessarily. And drinking bourbon all the time. I drank a little bit of Turkey 101 in the pool, I will admit, because I do like to switch it up, and I do like to drink Turkey 101 when I'm at the beach or at the pool, because I'm the bourbon guy. What are you gonna do? I drank quite a bit of beer. Specifically, I drank Pacifico, which I've had before and bought because thought it would be a fun little introduction for my family. It was a family vacation too, and didn't know if anybody had it and thought that they could, try something different. And they seemed to like it quite a bit. It was nice to have a break from like Yingling, which is something that we regularly have. But then also, I think Papa Ritter grabbed a case of a variety pack of Sam Adams beers, and I don't know if I've talked about this before. I don't have celiacs. I'm not like gluten intolerant, but I can't drink wheat beers for whatever reason. And the last time that I drank a summer ale from Sam Adams, it made me sick to my stomach. And I hadn't had a lot to drink with it. It was basically like my first or second beer of the day. And I threw up. And so I haven't had a lot of wheat beer since then. It's always turned my stomach. So there was, plenty of summer ale in there, but there was also Sam Adams Light, which I had never had before, and I adored. I thought it was incredible. But there was also a blueberry lager and what was called Porch Rocker, which I kept calling Porch Pounder because of the podcast. That's an old podcast joke. The blueberry lager was really quite good. I enjoyed it. The porch rocker, though, I don't think is new. I think the podcast guys know about it and know that it's okay, but it's got like lemon puree in the beer. So it's not like a hazy, but it's like a lager or something to that effect with lemon puree in it. And it's just not great. It's not my favorite beer. But I really, I think like the beer that I enjoyed the most throughout the week was the Pacifico. Unfortunately, and if you watch the 10-Bip live streams that I normally do on Thursday nights on YouTube and Twitch, Tony donated. So Tony Bag of Donuts donated so that I could get the new Pabst Light, PBR Light, and I did not have a chance to grab any. I will be doing that on my live stream this week, though. Drinking that on my live stream and trying to figure out what the best pairing is with that. So stay tuned for that, please. And I appreciate Tony. I'm just sorry that I wasn't able to get that before we left or get it while we were at the beach. It just logistically did not work out. But regardless, though, the Pacifico was my favorite beer of the week. All that being said, though, again, I'm just happy to be back with you, dear listener. And I'm gonna finish this pour real quick because it's staring at me, and I'm gonna take a second and let you know that this is the final episode of July, which means that next week is not only the first episode of August, it's the episode right before my birthday, because my birthday's on August 7th, but it's also the first episode of an ongoing tradition of this podcast known as Big Ass August. That's right. It is Big Ass August. Again, this is the 2025 edition of Big Ass August, where there is bonus content all month long just for Patreon, where not only are you getting the bonus episodes that happen every single week, but you are also getting bonus content that happens every single week. This year, there is also going to be merch that only happens for Patreon. There is going to be hangouts that only happens for Patreon. There's going to be the chance for you to get samples only for Patreon that I can't even talk about because they come by way of our dear friend Chade from My Daily Bourbon. That's right. It is from a personal collection that I have not even revealed on any type of media, whether it's on Patreon, whether it is on stream, whether it is on the main episode. That is all just internally. So we will talk about that just on the Big Ass August stuff that is available on patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast. That is starting next week on patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast. Bonus podcasts every single week. There's the potential, if I have if I can get it together, for that to happen every single weekday. You might get some bonus content. You just got to be on the lookout over there. Maybe some bonus streams. Maybe just me like popping in and saying hi. But it could be the biggest big ass August ever. You don't know. You don't know. You truly don't. There could be the return of some old school bonus episodes from Patreon that haven't been shown in a long time. But we'll see. We'll see. But all that being said, though, this is our time of the year to push a little bit harder on the Patreon. It's kind of like our pledge drive, like you would see on something like PBS, to let you know that we're all self-funded here. It's just a great time over on Patreon. But all that being said, we do appreciate you guys, and thank you so much for all the support you give throughout the year, and monthly, weekly, all that stuff. But there's going to be so much bonus extra content throughout the month because it's my birth month as well. And I wanted, initially for this to be, something where I could just give something extra throughout August because, why not? So, big ass August coming at you here real soon. So, all that being said, this week we are not doing a review. We are doing a topic. I haven't done a topic or discussion in a while, but this has been something that has percolated for a little bit and something that I have wanted to talk about in a more like concise or consolidated experience, I suppose, than just like over the course of a bunch of streams where I think a lot of people kind of understand where I'm coming from with this, but maybe don't, necessarily have a good point of reference for where the broader picture is with this. So the general topic, and I don't know exactly what this episode is going to be called as of recording it, and it's going to be coming out in a couple of days, but still, the general idea of this episode is, why are we kind of looking at the state of bourbon distilleries or American whiskey distilleries that we are right now? And why are so many of them facing financial troubles? So I've got a bunch of like case studies lined up, and I've got a bunch of general issues that I think are facing bourbon and facing American whiskey at large that should paint a broader picture for you to understand why we are in the situation that we are in. Before we get there, I want to pour something just so I have a whiskey in my glass, and we can move forward. This is Elijah Craig Barrel Proof C921. Nothing terribly special, but still coming from a distillery that is tried and true, has been able to maintain family ownership, I guess, or been able to maintain steadfast monetary success over the past decade, basically. But at the very least, quality of product, largely. I'm not saying that Elijah Craig Barrel Proof has been my favorite thing. Over the past couple of years, they've had some real clunkers. I haven't even really made like my feelings about this year's releases of Elijah Craig Barrel Proof too widely known, beyond a couple of thoughts here or there. But we'll get there towards the end of the year. I wanted to, sorry, this is a little bit off topic. But I wanted to get all 3 releases of Elijah Craig Barrel Proof and Larceny Barrel Proof out before I did a review, before I did a larger retrospective on all of those releases, instead of trying to do 3 individual episodes throughout the year, because it just kind of got to the point where it felt like it was a lot. So anyway, from my point of view, these financial issues, from a broad perspective, really started back in November of 2024. And this first one comes from Stoli and Kentucky Owl when they filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And the general idea, if you don't know, with Chapter 11 bankruptcy, is not that they are looking to start from the ground up, but it's because they're trying to restructure with their assets, right? So Stoli is not completely invested in the Kentucky Owl brand as their main source of income. Stoli is an international spirits brand that has Kentucky Owl as part of their brand portfolio. Kentucky Owl, according to distillerytrail.com, has unsecured claims with between 1 to 49 creditors, with estimated liabilities of between $50 million to $100 million and estimated assets of $50 million to $100 million. Kentucky Owl's top 7 unsecured claims, it's too much to get into. But largely what the claim here is that Kentucky Owl, in and of itself, because we're looking specifically at what is happening with bourbon brands, there has not been a good return on investment with something like Kentucky Owl, right? So this was a big red flag for a lot of us in the commentary industry, I would say, and feeling like something's a little bit off. And this was before, any kind of numerical reporting came out about where the industry was. Again, this was in November of 2024. So from there, things started to really pile up and feel like it wasn't. We weren't on the good path towards success. Now, Stoli, of course, is not necessarily the most well known as a bourbon or whiskey brand. They are more known as just spirits in general. But you move into January of 2025 and you have Brown-Forman, who announces a 12% workforce reduction, and this is again from Distillery Trail, closing of an historic cooperage and major strategic changes. This was something that struck us in almost like a personal, like, egregious feeling, and I'm going to link in the description below an article from Jessica Ann Zemlich, who is also a Bourbon Insider on social media, if you don't know her, which kind of goes into her more like personal feelings on how I've talked about this on my stream before as well. But it goes into how this really affected her personally as well, this shift from Brown-Forman. So if you don't know about this change from Brown-Forman, I'm going to go over it a little bit more briefly. Back in January, they announced that they were going to shutter 12% of their workforce, which was 5,400 employees worldwide. The shocking part of this was not just that they were closing a cooperage that they had purchased in 1945. They had, at the exact same time, announced a 4-person team of new executive leadership, right? So you had these new leaders coming in, and an estimated $70 to $80 million expected annual savings, or approximated annual savings. So between this change in regime and monetary savings, by also cutting 5,400 employees globally for, potentially 4 new leaders being brought on, things started looking a little bit weird from the outside looking in. Now, am I to say that this was exactly what was happening? No, not necessarily. But it made a lot of us scratch our heads and say, what are we doing here? This is not the pro-worker. It's not the pro-community vibe that we had. The pro-worker, pro-community view that we had of bourbon and of distilleries. This kind of shattered a little bit of the, we're not like other corporation viewpoints during this process. And again, I want to kind of emphasize a little bit of this shift that a lot were feeling during this period, which was the market was also shifting, right? This doesn't also, only focus on this period of late 24 to early 25. We were also feeling the market shift of like price increases and an exponential growth in product during the period of like mid 2023 to early 2024, and even a little bit before as well, where we were going, there are all of these new bourbon brands, all of these new rye American whiskey brands, and we just don't know what to do with that. There's too much. We can't spend our money on everything. We can't listen to every podcast. We can't listen to or watch every YouTube channel. We have to be more discerning with our dollar. We have to essentially go for what we know and what we love. Maybe every now and then we can pick up something that we find to be attractive on the shelf. So then we turn to a brand like Garrett County Distilling, which has a fairly attractive bottle. Doesn't look terrible on the shelf, but also doesn't have the notoriety or it doesn't have the household name recognition that something like, of course, Wild Turkey or Jim Beam might, and has all of this investment in their campus, in their master distiller, which we'll talk about in a second as well, and apparently is just failing on all ends. So Garrett County Distilling, this is reporting from Steve Coombs on Bourbon and Banter. Foreclosure not a product of industry softness. He said back in April, $250 million committed in just 14 months. It's bankrupt. So what caused its rapid collapse? Soft sales in American whiskey, overextension on its investment, hubris, ignorance. What it turned into was basically over-promising and under-delivering. You had a brand, you had a company that was unable to give their investors the ability to deliver on turnaround, right? So they would say things like, you give us this much money for this many barrels and we'll give it to you this fast. Well, that's the biggest problem with bourbon. It doesn't happen that quickly. It's the best and worst thing about bourbon is what I always say. You can make the best bourbon in 10 years, but it takes 10 years to make the best bourbon. See, and Steve says, risky, right? Put that way, it's easy to ask. Who didn't see this coming? So on top of that, too, you have mismanagement of people like Lisa Wicker, who back in February 13th of 2024 was named the first master distiller of Garrett County Distilling Company. However, in April of 2025, we found out she was fired 11 days after being announced as the new master distiller. So, why did she get fired after 11 days? The basics of it are she was not able to come to a reasonable understanding of what it means to be a master distiller at a brand like Garrett County Distilling Company. It was more of a front-facing operative as opposed to functioning within the confines of creating whiskey. She was being forced to, I say forced, that's probably not the best way. And, a lot of this is under the confines, the umbrella of allegedly as well. She was more, looking to operate without, the idea of what you should, do in the stills, in the distillery itself. This also goes into another aspect of why they might not have the money that they thought. Who owns the barrels? This was reporting again from the Lexington Herald Leader back in April. Nobody really knew who owned the barrels. Some of it was allegedly for Blue Run. Some of it was for Sealbox. It was very hard to tell whether it was even for actually Garrett County. So with all of this being considered, there was just so much mismanagement that happened. And even though Lisa Wicker was mismanaged by Garrett County, it was clear that she was still desired by other people in the industry. So quickly after all this happened, she is now the new master distiller. I say new, this happened back in May. Master distiller at Whiskey Thief in Frankfurt, where, as far as we know, she's happy. She's been there. She hasn't been fired after, less than 2 weeks. She's able to, work with them. We've heard great things so far. They're making product regularly as well. It cracks me up that the Herald Leader said Wicker has been working as a consultant after a brief stint at the troubled Garrett County Distillery. Just makes me laugh for some reason. But it's just to show you that, if we are to talk about the money mismanagement side of things, you can have somebody who is a master distiller who in this day and age of bourbon is not necessarily somebody who has to come out and say, like, buy our product. I'm fun. I'm hip. I'm somebody you want to have a drink with. Has a tenure across the board of things like Widow Jane, who has places like Limestone Branch, right? They can still operate without you having to put them front and center. So as a distillery, as a company, what are your primary goals? Are you working to make the best product? Are you working to make the best figurehead for your product, even if your product is subpar? See what I mean? There's a disconnect for a lot of these brands. They want more of their forward-facing opportunities here, as opposed to what's going into the actual bottle and once it makes it to the consumer. So all that being said, though, there was something that I feel like went a little bit under the radar back in January. But this was a story that now has pretty significant ramifications that are just now being reported on as well. And it's that Stitzel-Weller stopped bottling, or the Diageo stopped bottling at Stitzel-Weller, right? And it was going to stop bottling in April of this year, of 2025. And now, all of a sudden, according to Whiskey Advocate, Royce Neely just found online that Stitzel-Weller was for sale with everything included except for their barrels and the name too. Stitzel-Weller itself. Well, and the stills too. So that bottling line went dormant. We're in July of this year. It was April that it stopped operating. So April, well, really, May, June, July. So 3 months that it sat there not doing anything. There's probably been no distillation for at least that long, conservatively. And who's to say how many barrels have actually been in those rick houses, too? So you have an historic brand that has not been producing whiskey under this historic brand. You have product that all of a sudden is ceasing any kind of name recognition. I mean, truly, there's not really been a Stitzel-Weller product, too, in a long time. And then it just goes up for sale for $35 million. It's financial trouble, right? And it just happened to be really discovered by anybody with any kind of prominence. And it's being reported on by one of the largest whiskey names in the industry. Now, if we really want to talk about, though, and this one has blown my mind, maybe more than anything, in the entire gamut of Kentucky distilleries, of whiskey producers in the game. And this is not to say that they are going about it wrong. This is not to say that they are doing anything outside, really out of pocket more than anything. But it seems like we keep being drip-fed good things and flooded with the impossibilities of what is going on behind the scenes. Okay? And that's Whiskey House. It's Whiskey House in Elizabethtown. This is the new brainchild of David Mandel and John Hargrove. And of course, most prominently, they are from Bardstown Bourbon Company. They are most famously, as Whiskey House, identified with the practice of AI. in whiskey production. Now, I am not entirely anti-AI. I think that AI could function well when implemented correctly. However, I just don't think we're there yet, right? But all that being said, though, there is something about Whiskey House that has always rubbed me a little bit the wrong way. And it started with this. Whiskey House of Kentucky secures $145 million. This is from PR Newswire, by the way. Whiskey House of Kentucky secures $145 million in long-term capital to support the commencement of its commercial operations. Now, it's not just that they secured this amount of money. It's the fact that they were able to secure it from 5 different banks. 5 different banks back in July of 2024. That is, to me, a lot of different institutions for one different distillery. To then, in June of 2025, turn around and get faced with a $1.65 million debt that you apparently cannot pay off, even though you magically have all of these investors, you have all of these places that you have secured investments from, and you are not apparently able to pay your construction company while still promising, according to distillerytrail.com, a dozen state-of-the-art K-Rax rickhouses in partnership with the Ketter Group. Now, I want to point out that this reporting from the spirits business about their $1.65 million in debt comes from June 11th of 2025. And then on June 27th of 2025, they are announcing these dozen state-of-the-art K-Rax rickhouses. Somebody please explain to me how this makes sense. That you have millions of dollars in debt, and then you all of a sudden turn around and go, we're going to do this. We're going to do the best thing you've never seen. Just trust us. It's going to work. It's going to work out. It's going to be great. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to house so much whiskey that you haven't even tasted yet. You haven't even tasted this whiskey yet. Therein lies a big problem for me. So many of these distilleries, so many of these brands are over-promising. Am I saying that they underdeliver? We don't know. Because we haven't even tasted a lot of the whiskey yet. In this specific case, you have somebody like David Mandel who operated with Bardstown Bourbon Company, sourcing product and eventually turning to distilling their own product and operating on a system that allowed them to generate capital that turned into giving themselves money to build their distillery and build their own brand. So what happened? Over the course of the past 5 to 7 years, I feel like, personally, that model has completely changed for bourbon, where we're taking distillers, we're taking investors, we're taking business people at their word because of this sharp uptick that we saw during the pandemic. This is, to me, the most important graphic that came out. And I'm sorry, audio listeners, I'm going to do my best to describe this to you through words. This is kind of, the video watchers, this is probably going to be the most beneficial part of the episode for you. But this is a graph that came out a few months ago showing alcohol sales during the pandemic and leading up to the pandemic, and how we in America spent $1 billion more than were expected on a trend. And my personal evaluation of this, when you look at in March of 2020, as the pandemic started, we spend this extra $1 billion. We were anticipated to spend what looks like about $5.5 billion. And instead we spent $6.5 billion. All of a sudden you have this extra capital that comes in. Distilleries are going, wow, it's great. We're in this huge bourbon boom. We're in this huge spike where we can just do whatever we want to. We can give raises. We can expand our operations. And the problem is, when you go in with that mindset, then you start to get greedy with where you could go next, right? And you change your game plan for how everything has worked before. And instead of operating at the behest of your consumers, you operate at the behest of the people who are making your decisions. And to me, that's not going to get you where you want to go. And to me, you've forgotten. That you're not going to get anywhere without the people who are putting money in your pocket, right? So if we look also at the fact that even though in 2024 and into 2025, the numbers have essentially leveled out on this trend, whether we're in a predicted recession, whether people are still bringing home less money than they were expected to, or still spending money on alcohol, right? Good times, bad times, people are still going to drink. I'm not saying you have to lower your prices. I'm not saying you have to only operate with the purview of what's going to make your customers the most happy. But you certainly need to realize from a macro perspective that sometimes more is not better. And in this capacity, we don't need more bourbon brands on the shelves. Innovation is great. We're doing a lot. But branching off, doing all of these things that supposedly are giving us the best operations that we can, does AI really need to exist in bourbon? Do we really have to have a distillery in every county for the sake of it? What about a rick house in every county? There's other ways to go about it. There are different opportunities that we can have that don't overpromise for workers and underdeliver on working families. We can't keep investing in these big businesses and then after 6 months saying, we'll let you know when you can come back to work. It's truly harming a lot of the bottom line for a lot of the small people, for the people who consider themselves big people. And I hope that it changes. I really, really do. I'm very disheartened by a lot of the operations that have taken place over the past 6 months, over the past year. I think that it's great that we see new brands. I think it's great that we see new opportunities. I want to see bourbon taken to the ends of the earth, if possible. But don't sacrifice people for the sake of searching out the dollar. Please. I don't want I don't want bourbon to be a representative of the market at large. It's so much more than that. It should be so much more than that. Anyway, we are moving into a portion of the show that you might know and love. But if you don't know either of those things, you can now, because it's known as Barrel Rings. It's a portion of the show that you can be a part of by leaving us a voicemail or texting into the show. The number is the same for both of those things. It's 859-428-8253. Once again, that's 859-428-8253. Send a voicemail and, you just call and leave a voicemail. Or send a text, however you want to do that. It's very, very easy to do so. And this segment of the show doesn't exist without you. I'll be quite honest. We got 2 voicemails and a text this week. Oh, man. We're full of it. We're full of it. All right. This first one is from Michael Schneider.
Howdy, Perry. It's Michael Schneider / Michael WMD. Looking at your face on a live stream right at the moment, and I thought I'd call in and ask you a question about where do your feelings lie? How do you feel about America's newest category of whiskey, American single malt? Is that something you're partial to or have an aversion? I know a lot of people, malt can rub them the wrong way. To them, I usually say use a lotion, but I was trying to get your feelings on the subject, period. I am an equal opportunity drinker. In fact, I was just down in Texas last week for some classes, and I do love me some Texas funk on their single malt.
Ooh.
Thanks. Have a wonderful day.
Ooh, he likes the Texas funk. I don't know about the Texas funk, but I do love, personally, single malt. Thank you for your call as well, Michael. I do love American single malt. I am happy that it now has a home. It has a designation. I'm here for it. I'm looking forward to seeing maybe a broader recognition of that product in general. I don't know. I'm not saying that like I'm going to immediately start doing like more single malt reviews. But it's definitely not outside. I mean, I do rye reviews. It's definitely not out of the purview at this point to do American single malts for sure. But I'm excited about it. I've been excited about it. I think that there's a little bit of animosity towards there being an actual definition for whatever reason. But I don't have a problem with it. I'm looking forward to to what's next. So, we got this text. It's from our buddy W Leb. He said, "Perry, thank you for your views on my hot takes." This was from a couple weeks ago. It was about my views on his hot takes on people driving slow in the fast lane and other such topics. On another note, I was curious if you followed any YouTubers that do their own distillation. If you do, I'd like to know which ones and why you choose to follow them. If not, never mind. Have a great week. WLeb, I got bad news for you. I do not follow any YouTubers that do their own distillation. I wish I did. If anybody knows any distillers that do their own distillation, I would like to know of them because I've never heard of any. So keep me posted, please. And next comes from our buddy Jared.
Hey, what's up, Perry? It's Jared here. Sorry it's been a little bit since I've called. It's been a minute. I was just kind of trying to let the dust settle on Eric's just callous abandonment of you. I guess really of us and the Timbit family. He really just walked right out on us. Getting some proverbial milk, it would appear. I don't know where he would have, learned these tactics or even just thought would have occurred to him, but I don't know. I guess the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, some would say. But I'm glad things are doing well, and just wanted to say hi, and looking forward to kind of this next chapter and seeing what it brings. But a bit of a suggestion. I don't know if you've picked your co-host yet or done reaching out for candidates, but I do know there's a certain someone there in Kentucky. She possibly has a couple of Eric's New Riff bottles. She may have some openings, comfortable on camera, knows whiskey. Maybe want to reach out, see if there's any interest there. Just thinking, maybe a little crossover action. Really stick it back to Chade a little bit. But keep it up, Harry. We're still here for you.
Well, first off, let me say I appreciate that there is still support for the show in general post Eric's departure. It has been nice to see. Truly, there has not really been a dip in numbers overall since Eric left. I've had some good surprises here and there with numbers, pretty much overall. But a couple weeks where I've been like, I have not found a new co-host as of yet. I was talking about it with Papa Ritter over family vacation, and he made the distinct observation that Eric kind of came out of nowhere, and the next co-host could maybe just come out of nowhere as well. That being said, though, I have not reached out to this certain someone who has Eric's New Riff bottles. She seems to be awfully busy with a dark magic brand of whiskeys, though. So may not be the best time to mention anything. But I don't know. Could be crossing party lines. No, that's not true. Could be fine. I don't know. We'll see. She might be too busy. I'll be honest with you. Could be something that doesn't just work out at all. I don't know why it would. Honestly. It's worth an ask. We'll see. High Proof Hot Takes. This is the segment of the show where I unload on you because I've been frustrated with something that, I just can't handle keeping in anymore. I got nothing. I mean, I was on vacation. I'm pretty, I'm pretty relaxed right now. If anybody has any tips on how to make your kid eat food, though, hit me up because that's been my biggest hurdle over the past week. Actually, it's just kind of my biggest hurdle in general, but over the past week, oh buddy, it's been extra challenging, I would say. But Tips and Bits is the next segment of the show where I recommend things that I have been watching, reading, listening to, enjoying, that I also want you to check out because I think that they are worthy of your time. And I tell you what, I got some stuff. Because first of all, one of my favorite artists of all time came out with a new album this past Friday, and I think it's quite good. I want you to check it out. It's not my favorite of his albums, but I do think it is very enjoyable. It's not a family listening album by any means, but it's something, man. It's a lot of fun. It is Snipe Hunter by Tyler Childers. It is so good. It is a lot of fun. There are a couple tracks on there that are old-timey Tyler Childers fans, songs that if you've been listening for a long time, you're going to recognize. But there's plenty of new music on here that just needs to be loved on and enjoyed. Some stuff that I think is going to be just as adored as any of his old music. I've listened to it a few times now, and I think it's going to go into heavy rotation for me at the very least. It's just I like being a Tyler Childers fan. I'll say that much. And then I got a movie recommendation. I've not seen Superman, nor have I seen the Fantastic Four yet, because I haven't had a chance. I've heard great things about both. I look forward to seeing them in my free time, whenever that may happen. But I did get the chance while we were on family vacation, because on family vacation, we do watch movies together, to see the new Looney Tunes movie. The newest Looney Tunes movie, I suppose. The Day the Earth Blew Up. Which, it's not a full ensemble cast of Looney Tunes characters. It is primarily focused on Daffy Duck and Porky Pig. And boy, howdy, it serves them both very well. And I loved every single second of it. It goes a little, I take that back. It goes a little bit long. It could have been trimmed a hair, I would say. But it's so much fun. I enjoyed it so much. It is very classic Looney Tunes, but it's hey, look, it's fun for the whole family. Plenty of jokes just for the adults as well. I don't know what the discourse on that is like these days, whether, movies or cartoons or whatever should just be for adults or should just be for kids or should just have jokes for one or the other, but whatever. I think it perfectly worked out in its favor, and I loved it. I'm a massive Looney Tunes fan anyway, and I think it was great, and I think you should check it out. And I think you should also check out our Patreon at patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast and support the show for as little as $1 a month. As I said earlier in the episode, we are about to head into Big Ass August, where there is going to be a bunch of bonus content over at Patreon, with some bonus episodes, some bonus reviews, some silly stuff, just plenty of good things for you to check out, some giveaways, some opportunities to do little hangouts and fun times and whatnots. But you can always get access to our Discord by by supporting the show at Patreon from the $1 up tiers. $5 and up gets you bonus content every week, including but not limited to a bonus episode on Mondays, the pregame chats on Tuesdays, and early access to the podcast on Tuesdays as well. You can also check out all of the podcast apparel and merchandise. I said apparel. I meant apparel at bourbonshop.threadless.com. I do all of the designing over there for that stuff. We got hats, we got shirts, we got skateboards, we got stickers, so much stuff. Water bottles, bourbonshop.threadless.com. If you want to send samples, bottles, letters, any kind of good stuff, you can do so. P.O. Box 22609, Lexington, Kentucky 40522. If you want to follow on social media, it is at MyBourbonPod. I'm also at PRedder1792 everywhere, pretty much. The show is also at MyBourbonPod everywhere, too. But, you know, I'm also accepting emails. This is mybourbonshop@gmail.com if you would like to send an email there. Long form, short form, whatever. I can accept it. And then last but not least, send a 5-star rating and review to your podcast app of choice. I primarily find them on the Apple Podcast app, but it helps send the show up in the algorithm or whatever, I think. And I don't think we have any new ratings or reviews right now. Just as a quick glance. But all that being said, thank you all so much for supporting the show. I appreciate you. It's been a good week, and I'll be back next week. It's my birthday episode, I believe. Yeah, comes out the day before my birthday. So technically my birthday. I will be streaming on my birthday, too. So I hope you are there for that. All that being said, though, I love you. Thank you for everything. I'll see you real soon. Until then, though, I am Perry, and this is My Bourbon Podcast.